Today I'm going to be tying a Chironomid pupa called a Chromie. This is a fly that imitates the pupal stage of the Chironomid as it gets into the surface film and gets ready to hatch. You can see the silver is actually gas bubbles that help it rise to the surface. It's got that black head, the white gills that protrude out of the head. So we're going to see what we can do to try to imitate that. Alright, so I got my hook in the vise. I'm using a Daiichi 720H in a size 14, 3x long. It's a heavy wire hook. The bead that we're using is a 5/64 black nickel tungsten bead. And when you put this bead on, you put it on backwards. Normally you put the small hole first. On this particular fly, you put the big hole first, and you'll see why here in just a moment. For the gills, we're using this white Antron. Then for the body, it is a silver Flashabou 6901. The rib is red Flashabou. It is 6996 holographic Flashabou red. And then for the thorax, we're just going to use one piece of peacock. Alright, we'll get started with our thread here. The first thing we want to do is move this bead all the way to the back. And we'll get started here. We'll take our white Antron and throw it over the front of the hook. And we want to try to keep this thread wrap pretty light because we're going to put that bead over the top of it, so we don't want to get too bulky or that bead will never fit over. So we'll put a little, tie that down, and then we'll put a couple half hitches to hold it in place. Well, it was convenient. No worries, we're going to save this. Try that again, tie that down. Alright, and this bead needs to slide up and slide over everything. That's why we need to be, you need to be cautious of how bulky you get that when you tie it in. And we want to cut this Antron to just about to the end of the hook, the eye, just enough to give some gills. A little bit there, and then we restart our thread. Alright, and now what we want to do is build up a slight taper on this body, which means we'll go down 25%, come back up, and then we'll go down 50, come back up, 75, come back up. That's how we'll build our taper. And what we do is every now and then we take and spin it counterclockwise to flatten the thread out so it's a smooth body. And work back down again, a little farther this time. And back up. flatten our thread. And we'll come back down a little farther and then back up. So now we have just a nice slightly tapered body, and we can take and tie in the silver flashabou for the body. And what I do is I take two strands and I capture them and even up the ends up top, so I'm in the middle, and I wrap forward or back a little bit to tie them in. And then I'll take my red ribbing material and I'll tie it in, and I'll grab all of them and hold them together on top and wrap the thread back. And I want to go back a little bit past the bend of the hook so that the fly has a little natural curve to it, which gets tricky when you're down here with that barb. And then I'll work back up to behind the bead. Okay, and now I take the silver and trying to hold it all together, work it up the hook, up the shank, close touching turns. So you have a nice smooth body over that tapered thread, tapered underbody. And we'll tie it off right here behind the bead. And cut this XX off. And then we'll take this rib forward. I want to try to get 6 or 7 turns in here. That was a little too close. We can spread these out just a little bit more. Like that. That's probably a little better. I like that more better. All right. And now we take a single strand of peacock, with a thorax, and we just don't need to build it up much. We just need a few wraps in there. Oops, like that. And then we can whip finish this. And then what I do for durability on the body is I'll put some head cement down back here. I run a bead along the back, and I take a wooden toothpick and I just spread it along the body just so it has a little protective coating for when those fish teeth get all over it. And that is our Chromie Pupa. So go out there and get you some.